Welcome everyone to the Learning to Birth webinar series. My name is Akasha, and the Learning to Birth webinar series is all about hearing from some of the world's most interesting and inspired thought leaders about pregnancy and birth. And today we have with us Sharon Tenuta. Welcome, Sharon.
I'm glad to be here. Nice to meet you.
You're welcome. It's really good you're here. Everyone, Sharon is a natural birth counselor, a doula, a body talk practitioner, a natural health and natural pregnancy coach, hypnobirth educator, and birth educator from her business In Touch and In Tune. Sharon, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and your background and how you came to birth?
Well, my background is in regards to my education. I was a music teacher. Wow. And I taught music for about 32 years.
Yeah.
And when it came to be 55, I'm like, well, I want to do something else, but I'm not going to just sit around. So when I had my children, I did have midwives with me, and someone mentioned becoming a midwife, and I'm like, sounds like a cool idea, something that would interest me. So I've been studying now for about 5 years or so with the midwifery, and in the meantime have come across so many fascinating healing modalities and ways to hopefully make the world a better place in my later years of life here. So,
What are some of the things to help birthing moms? How do you work with them?
Well, discussions are good, classes that I teach, individual, with couples. I've attended some of the births as a doula, and as a practicing or student midwife, I've attended births with the midwives. Let's see here. Sometimes, well, I'm educated in many modalities, so there's things like spinning babies, there's things like helping the moms know where their baby is on their body, because sometimes women have no idea, but they know there's a baby there. Just encouraging them, empowering them, discussing their wants and their needs, and listening, lots of listening, because my goal is I really want the moms to feel empowered and know that they can birth a baby and it's a natural thing.
It's actually really wonderful when you've got your baby inside of you and they are, it's third trimester, and you can see through your tummy, like, where their bum is and their back, and you get that sense of, where they're lying. I think my tummy's permanently changed, like, because babies lie on one side, that's kind of the way you
yeah, you could cricket for life, right?
Yeah.
No.
You actually do not just hypnobirth, but hypnobirth the Mongan way. Do you want to talk to us about what that way is, and maybe how that's different to other hypnobirth modalities?
Yeah, there's different hypnobirth programs out there now, some more online. Hypnobirth the Mongan way was started by Marie Mongan, who just passed away this last June. And she wanted to have a natural birth and happened to be a hypnotist herself. Talked to her doctor about having these natural births, and it didn't get accomplished the first couple times because of the age, the 1950s and 60s. Doctors had a different idea. But as she progressed to, I think she had 3 children, each birth got better, and then she realized how she could introduce to other people to have these natural births. She read, or somewhere along the way, she read about Dr. Reed. Oh my goodness, I forgot the last name.
That's okay.
And he had observed about 3 births in the 1920s, 30s, where women did not have any pain when they birthed, and he was totally shocked. So he said, how can this happen? Well, it turns out that he discovered that these were, one woman was in Africa, and she just sat by a tree and just had her baby, got up and went to work. Another one was a lady, I believe in England area, or no, somebody was in the war field and just got up, went into a little hole, stood in the corner, had her baby, no pain, got up and just went on her way. And he's like, what is with this? He was a doctor. He was giving people the, the drugs to relax, to have a baby. So he somehow started studying and trying to figure out why these women didn't have any pain. And he came up with the reason we have pain is because of that triangle of fear and tension, which makes pain. So if we are afraid and we have tension in our body, we will have pain. If we just realize that this is a natural process, our body knows what to do, we're not afraid, we're trusting our body, there's more of a possibility of not having pain. Now, lots of women that I've seen so far really have to work. So, there's work to go with labor and birth. But there are also videos out there online where people have truly experienced what's called the ecstatic birth, and they did not have pain. So the Mongan way then, has classes. It's 5 2.5-hour classes. And so we discuss some of the people's fears. We discuss the natural process of labor and birth. We discuss what the culture presents to us that makes us afraid. And then there's several ways to help people overcome what their fears are and overcome the idea that they can't birth naturally. And some of these ideas would be through visualizations, thinking about a balloon or their favorite place at the beach or in the woods, and try to remember that they can go to that place anytime during labor, or somebody touches their arm and it reminds them, oh yeah, I just want to relax that way. There's deepening scripts that I read almost every time at one of the sessions. There's affirmations that we go through, reminding people we can do this, reminding the father that this is natural. Working with the couples together is more empowering than just with one person, so they can affirm each other. There's relaxation processes. One was the balloon, one is a touching place, or they figure out what touch really helps the mother relax. There's the breathing. There's like 3 different breathings that the HypnoBirth, the Mongan way, talks about, but it's the breathing down, and with the relaxed breathing, counting, and then slowly breathing out and down, and being aware of the baby, talking to the baby, making sure that the mother's in tune with the baby, and having calm thoughts. And I don't hypnotize. It's more or less the people, it's the self-hypnosis of just the mother getting within herself and just realizing her own power. So I don't do anything special except we talk through, things in class, and I read a visualization that helps get rid of fears and learn how the mother can just get deeper into herself to allow her body to do the work, so she's not getting tense. So I think I covered pretty much the basics on there. And then there's videos that we watch where mothers do see other mothers who had a hypnobirth. And without intervention, it's really pretty awesome.
That's a really great. That was a really awesome explanation, Sharon. I didn't know anything about the Mongan method before that, and having learned that about it, I'm actually really inspired to find out more about it. When did you first find out about the Mongan method?
Well, I suppose in my studies, I was studying the alternative, alternative ways to birth and alternative ways that help birth.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that a gal from Florida, which is where Marie Mongan was from, came up to Wisconsin, and she was giving a hypnobirth class. And I had my preconceptions of what's hypnobirth. It sounds like, kind of goofy. I wanted to find out for myself, what is hypnobirth? And so I went to the class in La Crosse, and the gal's name was Vivian Keeler. She gave the class, and it drew me right in, like, oh yes, I think I want to teach this, and I'd like to be a doula. So I did both through the HypnoBirth program, and it's pretty awesome.
It sounds like you're an amazing support person. Like when someone needs a doula, like you've got so much background to you already. We've talked about some of the myths about pregnancy, about the pain that people feel, and you've mentioned how like pain. Well, I mean, it's all about interpretation, but it's linked to, you know, our fear response and clenching down, and then of course if things are tight, that we're going to feel more. What other birth, like myths around birth, surrounding birth, do you think we kind of need to revisit?
I think the idea that people have to scream, you know, I've seen several births where women just breathe down and they don't make that noise at all. It's just calming and breathing. And sometimes a little bit of push to the end, something like that, but it's not like the TVs, that's for sure. Let's see, what other myth was I thinking that, well, definitely the noise, the pain thing, that we can't birth without medicine. Oh my gosh. But again, it's understanding yourself, I guess, getting to know yourself, know that a woman is powerful, and when she experiences birth, that even makes her more powerful. And I know there's a few people that need some of the drugs, but I believe without the drugs, without the interventions, the woman is even more powerful than she ever dreamed she could be. She's really, you know, that queen, that princess, that mama that just has so much behind her that she will love her family and her baby more than she could ever imagine.
That's actually a really strong theme coming out through all the talks here on the webinar series, is just about how strong women really are, and how birth can be a gift of finding out about, wow, how strong you are. Now you come to birth from some really holistic perspectives. Do you want to talk about some of the holistic practices that you bring to birth when you support a mama?
Well, I think I am very, very interested in the Lotus birth, and it's mostly through reading at this point, but I would love to be like a person in the middle of this great United States where people would have that option to have a Lotus birth. And each of us, well, I would say the human race itself, when it started, whenever that is, years ago, the women just birthed. They allowed their placenta to birth, and the cord came off when the baby was ready to let it go. And we have many people that just multiplied in the earth. So it was cool. And of course, I'm sure there were a few deaths here and there, but in general, it really was the natural way. People didn't cut the cords right away. So I'm totally fascinated with that. A gal, let's see, Rakana Shivam, let's see, Shivam Rashana did this book. You see it? Okay. Lotus Birth. And I found that in Australia, and it's just such an excellent book. I've had a little hard time getting it sent to me, getting more of them sent to me, but it's an excellent birth book about the Lotus birth and Rashana's interest, how she became interested in the birth. So I believe the Lotus birth was from the beginning, but the reintroduction into some parts of the world, like, you know, our United States, the England, Australia, and what, I believe Rashana really brought it. And there's a few other people too. Janine Parvati also was very interested in it. But anyways, it's a natural way, and there are benefits, and I don't see too many risks. There's only like 2 different things that would cause a person to cut the cord if we allow the natural birth, and that would be if the cord has torn or if there's the placenta previa. You know, those are like emergencies. But in general, the baby is born, and then the mama just waits for the placenta, just allow, you know, hugs the baby. The baby might be on her chest, might be nursing already, and that helps the placenta itself to release from the uterus. And then gradually the placenta is born. Often in the hospitals would maybe wait 15 minutes max. Even some midwives, but sometimes that placenta is out right away with the baby. Sometimes it can be 30 minutes or even longer at times. But then what happens with the Lotus birth is then that placenta is respected. It's maybe put in a bowl. It's maybe put in a basket, wrapped with a cloth. Sometimes people will put herbs on it, like rosemary. They will salt it, and then daily rinse it off and, you know, re-herb it or re-salt it just so that it stays in a good condition. And then the cord that connects the baby to the placenta would fall off between 3 and 10 days. But from my reading, it sounds like the sooner we cut the cord, the longer that cord stub stays on the baby, you know, 10 or more days. And the longer we let the placenta remain connected to the baby, the shorter time it is for it to break away from baby.
That's
and
very
so
I know, like,
I thought so.
With both my babies, I did leave the cord probably for about 5 minutes. And I know that I birthed both my placentas probably around 40 minutes afterwards. And I know, like, just like oxytocin, you know, triggers and supports the birth itself, you know, really cuddling your baby and letting them feed on you when they're really alert after birth and they're bouncing their head around looking for the nipple. You know, that then triggers the oxytocin that, you know, helps you birth that placenta. And, you know, birthing the placenta is quite an intense experience, you know, because you're still, it's quite large, it's still coming out. So you do feel it just like you feel the baby. But I guess what a really good question is, Sharon, is like, if someone is listening to us here today and never heard the word like Lotus birth before, like, what would you say it was to them?
Let me see. Well, the Lotus birth would be, you know, allowing baby to come out, allowing the placenta to come out, keep the both of them connected until baby releases the placenta. Now the placenta, you said, feels like the baby, except there's no bones there, so it's just a little bit different that way. But I think in simplified terms, that's what I would say. Yeah. And the placenta looks like a tree, so it's the tree of life. And if you think of a lotus flower, it's kind of flat, like the lotus flower that floats on the water. And so somehow they got put together, and I don't totally know the history of that part.
The placenta is actually quite beautiful, isn't it? Like with that the veins causing that tree pattern. But I buried both of mine
right
in the garden. Right. I think the veins side down. Just, you know, why would a mom?
Did you make a print? Did you make a print for yours?
Oh no, I didn't. You know, I you know, both my babies, it was, you know, I had to do everything on my own, and life back then, it was always just about getting by, you know, so I just would do whatever I could just to get by and still make sure myself and my babies, you know, got everything we needed, you know, to live, really. But I guess why would a mum, like, why would she choose a Lotus birth? Why would she go, yeah, that's what I want to do?
Well, I have a paper here. I'm looking at it. I believe that the mother would choose it for respect of the placenta. I believe it would be because the blood, there'd be a clean transfusion from the placenta to the baby. And there's like a third of the blood that the baby still needs coming from the placenta to give the baby the best health that it can have. So the clean blood transfusion, nothing's interfering. Another thing is that the babies remember their births, and there's people like David Chamberlain that's written about that, and other psychologists that have experienced that babies do remember birth, and people rebirth in order to heal themselves from traumas. So somehow our muscle memories remember that as well. So we want babies to have the most gentle birth possible. And since the babies have a consciousness that some of us haven't realized, you know, they get to choose how long it takes them to come out. They basically can be empowered as well. And how awesome to have somebody empowered from birth, you know, and believing they can do anything and people trust them. I think that's cool. Let's see, other people can heal from their birth traumas by a Lotus birth of somebody. And some people in the room, they can heal. It's a natural process, and it can maximize the bonding between mother and baby. They get to be close together longer, and the whole family situation, the dad too, you know, whoever's there. But at the same time, mom doesn't have to share baby with anybody else if she doesn't want to, and that's good for the health issues as well. The placenta still is passing knowledge and information to the baby, and especially from those who have experienced the rebirths or the processing their own birth that has happened or their traumas of life, people have come to realize that there's an aura around the placenta that wants to pass itself to the baby. And when baby can let the placenta go at the time that it's ready, the whole entire aura can encircle that child with the fullness, and there's no break in that. It's called a complete etheric aura. And so with that, then the baby can be harmonious with the world, be strong, be healthy, happy, alert. And in the future, it's, let's see, Lotus birth children have an extraordinary sense of their self, and they are well grounded. So those are the reasons that I found. Those are what I really believe our world could use, well-grounded people that are empowered from their birth.
Yes, I definitely agree about babies having their own consciousness. Like when they're both in utero, like they both express their personality. Like I knew who those babies were before they came out, you know, just from what they did in there, you know, and the things that they did in there is still characteristic of how they, you know, move in the world today.
Sure.
Our babies suddenly become human beings when they come out of our bodies. They come as who they are, you know, I think from the time of conception, and they come as who they are. And then, they, you know, the placenta is, you know, it's ultimately a piece of our body. It's a part of our body, like our arm or our leg or our heart. And it has, you know, life force and, you know, energy and imprints about it. And it's part of us, but it's also part of the baby. I mean, it's connected to the baby, the placenta, it's in us and we've made it, but in a sense it's also, you know, it's the baby. So there's a lot of beautiful reasons to choose a Lotus birth. How does someone prepare to have a Lotus birth? What do you do beforehand?
Well, I just want to go back. You said about the brain and the thinking, and in essence, there's, let's see, along with Lotus birth and some of the modalities that I do, there's something called body talk, and it connects the head with the heart. Both are considered to have their own brains, with the stomach, which is also considered to have its own brain, and the placenta itself is considered to have its own brain. As it is connected to the baby, it's still considered to have its own brain.
That's
so
exciting. I'm excited.
What? Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you about body talk, because my own background, I have a really deep connection, you know, with you, what you probably know of, you probably heard of the term the Hara line. So the Hara line is, you know, the brain in your head, connected to the brain in your heart, connected to your Tandian, the brain in your belly. And what's beautiful is having read, oh God, he wrote Magical Child. What's the name of the man? He's written so many books. He wrote The Heart Mind Matrix is another one, but Magical Child.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yep.
He's like my favorite author, and I've forgotten his name. He passed away not so long ago. But you know, his books are all about you know, the how when a baby is in utero, the very first thing is the heart. And then the brain is actually made by taking, you know, the cells out of the heart and then making the brain. So our first brain is actually our heart brain. And I've never heard before that the placenta is also a kind of another neural network. I didn't know that before, and that's really a revelation. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and it's the same cells as baby, so it's totally connected. You know, until baby lets it go, which it was its best friend in utero. Besides being a pillow, you know, it gave the nutrition and the pulse for life, and oh my gosh, and you know, cleaned it out. So it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
So takes me back. I was asking, like, well, how do you, what steps do you do to prepare for a Lotus birth? I think that would be useful for a mum to know.
Well, I think it's basically preparing for birth, but being confident that the baby and the placenta want to be connected, and then just gathering just a couple items like a bowl or a basket or a clean cloth to cover the placenta with, some little salt, a few herbs, basically, and then, you know, wash it once in a while for water, but just preparing a few things so that you can keep baby and the placenta close to each other, so it doesn't pull on the baby's belly, and just keeps them both comfortable.
Yes.
So that's I think it's really quite simple to prepare that way, along with the mindset. This is a good thing.
I guess realistically, we're talking here 3 days a week. During that period, you're not going to be probably moving around much anyway. You and baby are probably just going to be resting. It's not going to make a huge impact on your life. But I guess, like, can you do a Lotus birth in a hospital? Like, if a mum's going to be planning to stay in hospital after the birth, can she still do it there?
She can. She may have to convince people that that's really what she wants, but I've heard where people can, and the nurses, you know, might say, oh, stay away from them, they're doing the Lotus birth, which is fine for the family, but it's really an awesome experience for the baby and the family. But yes, I've heard that can happen, and if somebody needs a cesarean, they can have a Lotus cesarean too. So they can say, you know, you bring my baby and that placenta out together and don't cut the cord. And that is a possibility, but the parents need to be aware. They need to make that request, and hopefully it comes out the way they want, because it's benefiting both mom, baby, and baby. You know, it benefits the family, and the benefits for baby, again, the blood, but the good colonization for the babies still can happen, you know, through, I guess, through the blood process and through the nursing. But if there's a cesarean, I've heard to colonize the baby better, because it's not coming through mom's vaginal area, that a new practice is to swab the mom's vaginal area and then put the bacteria on the baby, so that he can have, it can grow the good bacteria to help him fight, you know, disease. So if people haven't heard of that, that is really awesome for the health of our world as well.
That's really interesting. I've not heard, I mean, that's not ever something that's come into my field of view before, like that, you know, if your birth isn't vaginal, do they still get that, all those bacteria, you know, and they talk about how our environments are sterile now and how that's causing, you know, greater allergies and things. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we get more allergies now. I think it's a lot to do with environmental toxins and everything like that. But another thing maybe that could be looked at is what you've just brought up, and that early experience of the world. It's really interesting. You know, when you're saying that you're having a Lotus birth, I mean, obviously we don't have to tell the world everything, and we can choose who we tell things to, but you know, I can just imagine that maybe some aunties or sisters or mums that are just like, what are you doing that for? You know, like, how do we approach it with our families if we're maybe not, our families aren't really like where we are in terms of, you know, being awake, you know, and aware.
I saw your question. I'm like, wait till later. just decide and do it. You know, if you know the benefits and you want to, and you don't want negativity coming your way, just do it and tell them later. Oh my gosh.
I've been wearing a lot of t-shirts for these interviews that have, like, you know, Ganesha, like little elephants on it, and I think it's been like a subconscious kind of, you know, removing the obstacles. It's like, you know, when it's beautiful. This is why I'm doing these webinars, because women who want to tell the world about their choices, or doulas or midwives, you know, shouldn't have the world bearing down on them all the time about how, you know, home birth is horrible, or a natural birth is this or that, or Lotus, whatever we're talking about, you know. And I just, you know, I think it's about, yeah, be where you are in your time and talk to the people you know in the way that you can, but just know the world supports you and make your choices. And if you can't tell everyone everything, you don't have to, you know, it's your life, it's your baby, it's your choice.
Yes, yes. I've seen some mommies who wanted a natural birth. They say they wanted a natural birth. They go home, their auntie says, you know, this, you know, you've got to go get this test, you've got to get this test, you go to this hospital. The moms and other people are telling them other information. They're listening, and so they're getting confused. And so probably part of that process is getting to know yourself and becoming strong in yourself, making your decisions, and just feeling good that you are wise and your decisions are fine. It doesn't really matter what everybody else is saying. It's good to listen to wisdom, but not if it's negativity that's not affirming your wisdom. So, you know, get to know yourselves, mommies, and just make good choices and feel good about it. So that's good.
What would you do differently if you have a Lotus birth than if you didn't have a Lotus birth? Like, what sort of things after the birth are there do you do differently?
Oh, after the birth?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, you know, the baby, I like the idea of the baby crawling up the mom, and maybe it still can, but it might be a little more difficult with the cord attached. That part I'm not sure. The mom still can cuddle a lot, but it's still being careful with the cord area because we don't want to hurt baby. So maybe just sitting still more and just being close to baby. And you mentioned about the hormones and breathing in baby, and that's another way. Well, you mentioned the oxytocin, just breathing in through the top of baby's head. The pheromones coming through, that helps with the oxytocin coming to the baby, or coming to that cycle of mom's milk coming in and the whole bonding process. So otherwise different, I guess, just being careful with baby and the cord, keeping them together. And there's a few different ways. I think I talked about putting the placenta in a bowl. It could be in a basket. And then Gloria LeMay had written about a way for people, there's several people interested in the placentation, where they eat part of the placenta or they make pills out of it.
I've done that.
Yeah, okay. And so she suggested to take that placenta, even if you're doing the Lotus birth, and put it in a thermos bag with ice. And so, you know, just make sure that the ice stays there so that after the cord is released, you still can use the placenta for the placenta pills. So otherwise, it may not be as good for the placenta pills, but you know, it's still a respected placenta that some people plant for trees or around their home. And that brain was respected and the baby was respected. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I have to offer at the moment for that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm trying to think back, and yeah, I grew up on a farm, and of course on a farm you see all the animals eat the placentas. It's quite normal, and then you know, and the mums bite off the cord, but you know, you see naturally the cord, you know, shrivel over time on the animal, and generally, you know, will drop off without trouble. And then I had my doula tell me about, you know, encapsulation and everything. And eating it, and I was like, okay, growing up on a farm, I'll do this. And I tried it a bit, and I didn't really get into it, and I ended up, you know, burying most of it. And for my second daughter, her cord was around her neck, and it was a really short cord, and we just, you know, there was no way of keeping placenta and baby together, unfortunately, in any shape or form. And but it is good to know that there are lots of health benefits. Obviously, animals have done it forever of consuming the placenta. You know, definitely look those up and see if that's an option for you, if you're listening, and then if you're not sure, like, talk to someone in your area who can help, either a doula or, you know, someone who does these services, and find out more. But that's really fantastic. You also do like you've mentioned like tapping and that on your website. How can, you know, what are something tapping that pregnant mums can do to, you know, help with all of this stuff?
Well, for the pregnant moms themselves, they can just take their head, the head, and use 2 fingers. So you're connecting the 2 sides of the brain with the heart.
Which finger,
so
Sharon?
I don't care which fingers, just 2 fingers, 2 sides, connecting both sides here.
Okay.
It takes a little, but not backwards. It's this side to this side. So I've got there.
So just like thumb and fingers, okay?
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then tap the heart.
Tap the heart.
And then you can tap the belly button.
Oh, so it's like the whole body talk kind of thing, getting the brains connected, the higher line.
Yep, just getting it. Yep. Okay. That works. And then if you go through the body talk process, there's links that go from maybe an emotion of mother that connects to an organ or might connect to baby, and then tap or do whatever the formula says. And sometimes that can help a baby even turn so that it's ready to birth. And there was a story where a baby was very tangled, or there were 2 babies in a mother, and they were very tangled, and the doctor's like, you're gonna have to have a C-section. Well, this mother went for a body talk treatment, and that night after the treatment, she felt all this jumble mumble in her belly, and by morning, the babies had untangled themselves. So it's a really good way to balance mom with babies, have the babies get themselves ready for birth, and it's just awesome. So there's
so much wisdom in it when our heart, you know, because people talk about, oh, you know, body, mind, and soul, get them connected, and you're just like going, well, what is that meant to feel like? How do I know when my body and my mind and my soul are connected? I don't know. But in reality it's actually a physical sensation in your body when your heart, your soul, your mind, and your tanda and your belly, like your life force, when they're connected, and you feel it. Like there is a difference between like an action that comes from that connection and an action that comes when things are out of kilter, and it's like really something that you can feel.
Yes, and some people are more sensitive than others. Now, listen, before I talk about some more of that stuff, here is a baby with the Lotus birth. We just got to get you in here. Here's my baby, and there's a little placenta. Wow. So, just to give a little visual, you get the baby and you get the placenta right next door, and whatever bowl or basket we have. So it's all connected till baby says, oh, I'm done. So
can mums buy one of those and get, so that they can get used to how to manage all of that?
Good idea.
Yeah. I would just be like, oh my God, how do I, which first? You know, I need to practice.
Well, yeah, there's something else interesting I learned too. This has nothing to do with my what I mentioned but let's see, what is it called? Oh my gosh. It's when babies can be trained, right? Or they're not even trained. It's like they're training us when they have to go to the bathroom. And so there's elimination, communication, elimination, or something like that.
Elimination, communication. Yeah.
Yes. And just within this last year, I know a young couple that had their baby and they did train it, or the baby trained them when it had to go to the bathroom. And so they would, when they knew the baby had to go, they would take out the diaper, put it over the sink or the toilet, and it would pee, and then they put the diaper back on. And so then a couple months later, they told how they took the baby to the store. The baby had to go, but waited until they took it to the bathroom. And it's like awesome. But anyways, that's kind of sidetracking here.
Now, I love elimination communication. We'll have to invite, actually, we're going to be doing a Learning to Breastfeed webinar after this series. We'll have to maybe invite you or someone back specifically to talk about elimination communication, because it is something that I've seen it done. I've seen other people do it. It wasn't something I did because I had enough on my plate with both births, you know, myself and the babies, you know, everyone's got different backgrounds. But I've seen it done and I've seen it work. And of course it works all around the world. You know, many cultures have done it for, you know, forever.
Yeah, yes. So it's pretty cool.
Beautiful having you with us, Sharon. How, if mums want to learn from you or connect with you, like how do they do that?
Well, you can look on InTouch and Intune.com. And my email that I would like you to connect with is balance@intouchandintune.com. So I'd be happy to have anybody contact me. And I guess I offered here a class if somebody's interested in a class. It can be a birth class and I can bring in the many interests that I have, or if you're interested in the HypnoBirth the Mongan way, we can figure out how to do that together.
And class persons, so are those in class, in-person classes? Do they need to be where you are to do those with you?
I've only done them that way. And the HypnoBirth program does not want to encourage us to do online, but if I, you know, figure out some variation, I guess we could do that as well. So
you could do like a course that's like an introduction to holistic birth practices, you know,
right.
Half an hour about Lotus, half an hour about elimination communication,
right.
About, you know,
there's
tapping.
So much.
Yeah,
there's so much in birth.
There is
in natural birth. So
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Thank you for being with us, Sharon. I like to ask a really general question of our guests before we say goodbye, and you can just answer, of course, any way that you're inspired. And the question I'd like to ask you is, what is the power of maternal wisdom?
The power of maternal wisdom is, I believe, it's just knowing that you have more within you than you are experiencing today. So each day it can become stronger if you get to know yourself better and allow yourself to keep growing. So experience the natural the best way you can, and you will know more about yourself. So,
yeah.
So I think that's what I can do.
Yeah, the more you experience of yourself and then the natural, just the raw you, the more you know about everything. It's beautiful. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for being here. Everyone will include links to Sharon's website and also the books she recommends down below in the course materials below. Thank you for being with us, Sharon. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for the opportunity.
We'll talk soon.